Hello, Guardians. Today is April 14th, 2023. My name's Danfinity, and welcome to Destiny Digest. Happy Friday, folks, or whatever day it is when you're listening to this. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Today is an absolute banger. We got a pretty all right TWAB. We have some community news. We got a conversation with Epic Dan and Pigeon just around the corner, talking about our experiences doing Conqueror in a day, or basically 6 hours. Before we get into all the news, just a quick personal roundup of sorts. If you're looking for a helpful community in Destiny 2, head on over to discord.gg/Danfinity. That is my Discord, where my clan current meta resides, as well as all the folks from the streams. Twitch.tv/Danfinity, by the way. People are talking strategies. People are talking builds, especially around GMs, which I'll be helping folks with this Sunday and just about every Sunday for the rest of the season from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern. So discord.gg is the central hub. Catch me live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Danfinity. if you're into it. Now, enough about me. What about the news? This week, we didn't get a mid-season article. We did get some chop on Thursday when it came to the servers. There was some background maintenance that was kicking people out. I know I was in the middle of helping somebody with an arms dealer GM when servers just started getting a little funky and we all got kicked out at the boss. And so I had to play something else other than Destiny 2. Cry. But this week has been noteworthy. Bungie took to the TWAB this past Thursday to clarify their stance on third-party peripherals, mainly tools that were built for accessibility that are instead being used as ways to manipulate input devices and circumnavigate the difficulty of encounters, specifically in PvP, but also in some PvE regards as well, such as World First races, and the TWAB hippie rights. Our community has grown increasingly frustrated by a form of cheating that uses third-party peripherals with the intent to manipulate the game client. These devices are plugged into a computer or console where they can, for example, execute simple scripts or trick the game into giving you extra aim assist. You'll note that we aren't calling out the services by name. The primary reason for that is we simply don't want to offer a bigger spotlight than necessary. Instead, our focus is on what the impact of using tools like this has on the PvP environment. To this end, Bungie has adopted the following policies on any form of external aids. Bungie embraces the use of external accessibility aids that enable an experience the game designers intended, but will take action including bans on people who abuse these tools specifically to gain an advantage over other players. After the emboldened statement, they then go through and break down individual portions of it. This feels like they are laying out something more for liability purposes or policy or terms of service to make it extremely clear where accessibility ends and where exploitation begins. So number one, external accessibility aids are any device or input that augments the player's ability to control the game beyond what the game itself normally provides. This includes, but is not limited to, programmable controllers, keyboard and mouse adapters, advanced macros, or automation via artificial intelligence. This does not include features that Bungie provides. For more information on how Bungie supports accessibility, check out their goals outlined by Accessibility at Bungie. 2. Experience the game designers intended means that content meant to be difficult or prestige is designed like that for a reason. We do not intend for difficulty to be automated away via software or hardware. Therefore, simply using an accessibility aid to play Destiny 2 where a player could not play otherwise would not be a violation of this policy. Using these tools to mitigate challenges all players face, such as reducing recoil or increasing aim assists, would be a violation. 3. Gain an advantage means used for the purpose, directly or indirectly, of achieving victory. For example, some players that abuse these tools rise in PvP ranks at a rate far beyond what is expected for a player improving through typical play. Because the benefits of cheating in PvE can affect things like the world's first race or even spill over into PvP, we will be evaluating all gameplay for violations. We will be monitoring for violations of the policy and issuing warnings, restrictions, and/or bans appropriately. This has been a matter of extended conversations, both internally and in the community, and we want to strike the right balance between Bungie's goal of simultaneously enabling everyone to enjoy our games and protecting our community. Now, like I said earlier, this comes off the heels of several other companies. I believe Apex Legends also came forward and said, hey, we're not going to allow Zim and Cronus anymore for competitive play. This move by Bungie comes after that. It also comes after Gamers First, which is a PvP organization led by Kenny Vaccaro. That team, which specifically was built around his love for Destiny, his love for Destiny PvP, and the creators in it, they just dropped their Destiny 2 content team this week, stating, today is a bittersweet day as we say goodbye to our D2 PvP content team and look back on an incredible journey together. We went toe-to-toe with the community as the Bungie Bounty, won Movie of the Week with our Team Taj Emergence, and raised countless dollars for great causes through charity, tournaments, and initiatives. We'll always look back fondly on our memories together. And while we won't field an active roster or create content as a team again, we still plan to be involved in the community through charity initiatives and other community events. Destiny is our home after all, and despite the difficult decision, we still love the game and the community dearly. While the state of gaming esports has us taking a step back for now, who knows where things might take us over the next several years. For now, we say goodbye and thank you to the many amazing players that created lasting memories we won't forget. Per Audacia ad Astra, the G1 team. That was announced on their Twitter, and I'm sure these conversations were being had before G1 left. I feel like this is a good move for the PvP base. They've been asking for it for years at this point. It feels like we're finally seeing the push in the rest of the industry, and maybe that's the thing that was the tipping point. I also feel like this is weird territory for folks who use macros in interesting ways, like Guardian Photographer. Guardian Photographer, we just had him on the show a couple weeks back. If you haven't listened to that episode, I highly recommend that interview. But he uses a macro to take photos in Destiny 2 in order to make his content because Destiny doesn't have a native photo mode. So do the macros there then translate to something that he could be banned for? Well skating, movement tech, getting across the gap with your sword. If you take that and turn that into a macro, is that something that is an bannable offense under this policy? I think that's something that you'll see a lot of people talking about over the next few weeks. I know we talked about it in my chat. If you'd like to let me know what your thoughts are, please message me on Twitter at Danfinity, where the eyes are else. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this conversation. Moving more into a fashion side of things, we got more information about the best dress commendation, which actually will be coming next Tuesday, April the 18th, as part of patch 7.0.5. They bumped it up from season 21 all the way up to that mid-season patch. So you'll now be able to add that. It won't be weighted as heavily. It's more for fun, but you'll at least have another option here soon to give to your buddies. They also reminded us this week in the TWAB that we will be getting Trials Labs on week 8 and 11 of season 20. In both, they'll be testing new matchmaking parameters to gather analytics and verify they work as intended on a large scale. As a refresher, they remind us that we will now have 2 always active soft pools. Soft meaning matchmaking initially prefers not to blend the pools, but will, if necessary, to find a good game quickly, so the distinction is not dramatic as the one between flawless and non-flawless in the current system. So the first pool will be the Challenger pool. This is where most players who currently play Trials on a week-to-week basis and who want to go flawless will play. It represents an experience more like the original iteration of Trials in D1, without the focus on making games more difficult as the card progresses or after you have been flawless. The pool matches based solely on connection, with no matchmaking based on tickets, wins, or skill. Players who have any card with no losses, including a card after reset, or those playing with someone in their fire team that has a card with no losses will be placed in this pool as well. We will also be receiving the practice pool. This is where we all get floaties. The pool is targeted at new or less experienced players who are not yet ready to give Going Flawless a shot, and represents a place for them to dip their toes into trials without being thrown straight into the deep end. This pool matches based on connection and weekly performance, how well you have done in trials that week, resets every week. Only players with a flawed card or those on their first game of the week can play in that pool. They remind us that this pool has stomp protection, so if you're consistently struggling, it will reduce your weekly performance rating to give you slightly easier matches until you recover. And farming protection. If the system detects that you or a fire team member are likely attempting to farm the practice pool, it will slow down your matchmaking times initially, and if you continue, it'll lock you into the challenger pool for the remainder of the weekend, regardless of the card state. We also got a reminder that the updates for the Passages of Wealth and Mercy and the changes to the Gilded Flawless Triumph requirements will not be live on these weekends. They will come in Season 21, and that they will be monitoring for feedback. That's pretty much it for the news. Now, onto a conversation with Pigeon and Epic Dan. Well,
hey,
Pidge and Epic Dan, welcome back to the show.
Hello.
You guys are two-timers now.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for
guys,
being here. So we did Conqueror in a day. How do you guys feel?
See, you say a day, but it's only a few hours, right?
Yeah. I mean, like
5 or 6 hours.
We did it on the same day.
yeah. It was like, was it 7 hours total? Was my stream yesterday? So and we did it in like 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 6-7 hours. Pending technical issues, mechanical issues.
Mechanical issues, tedium issues,
Yeah.
copium and hopium issues. Before we get too deep into that, why don't we have you guys introduce yourselves to the audience just in case they may not know you or they don't make it to the end of the episode. Let's start with you, Epic Dan.
If you don't know who I am, my name is Daniel. A lot of people just go by Epic Dan or Dan. I play way too much Destiny, but I have a prescription for that called Epic Gamer. So, and I play too much Destiny. That's it. I'm the I like Destiny.
Heck yeah.
You are selling yourself short, Dan.
Yeah, you can find him on twitch.tv/EpicDan22. Yeah.
That's where you can find me. I know how to plug myself, I swear.
Hey, you know what? That's a skill. It's a like not being a content creator and being like, yeah, this is just who I am. I admire that more than you know.
It's like staying humble.
Yeah. Pidge, what about you?
I'm the less humble guy. I'm the guy that will come up in your face. My name's Pigeon, if I haven't met you guys before. I'm from Glasgow, Scotland. It's very important people know that as well. And I too have a Destiny 2 addiction, specifically PvE and endgame content. And I'm here for you called it a post-mortem, I think, Dan.
Yeah. I think that fits for this because
dissect / post-mortem review.
Yeah, so we did.
Well, we came out in one piece, didn't we?
So what?
We came out in one piece.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly, except for like now I'm Floridan.
Floridan.
Yeah, I'm Floridan.
Mention Floridan for sure.
But first, before we get into that, like, how long have you guys been doing this season over season? It's been like 4 or 5 at least.
Was the first season Witch Queen season? Or the season after?
So I'm guilty here. I'm pretty sure I reached out to Dan. I'm looking back at the dates, Dan, and it says June 17th, 2022. I don't know if that was our first outing, but it just struck up plans one season. And then I'm a big fan of tradition, so I said to Dan, like, let's do it next season. And true to that, like, apart from when we catch each other when we're in voice chat or in game or streams for that matter, most of my, my inbox from Dan is, it's almost that time, Dan. It's Gilded Conquer in a Daytime. And then there's our window of organising it, and then we've went ahead and done it. So, like, the next one's going to happen.
See, I like that because I'm a creature of habit, and I like I like Pidge's consistency. You know, I don't even have to worry about my getting a team because I know I'm gonna get that DM. At that time, I'm like, yeah, let's go, and there we go.
3 months like clockwork.
So I don't mind. Like, I think even a week ago, before he messaged me, someone was asking in my chat, "Am I doing GM?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do a pitch." Before even DMs, I just knew. So
Before you even got the DM.
I don't mind because I like consistency in my life.
Yeah.
So I like consistent things like that. I'm so used, as all of us are, having to be the person to
organize
all the time, and especially when I Sherpa stuff, I have to organize everything.
Yes.
And I enjoy at least one thing in my life, not having to be organized. So I let Pidge take care of that. I'll come be the gamer. I ain't got to even worry about anything else. So whenever he messages me about it, I'm like, yes, sir.
I would just like to point out, by the way, like this is obviously, this is just me to you, Dan. If there ever is a time where one of us can't make it, don't worry about it. We'll get the next one. There's just so you're not hard pressed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just so you know.
I know that sooner or later it's going to happen. Just because of life.
Oh yeah.
But
definitely.
still, I'm always like, I got a group already. I'm good.
The tradition continues.
Exactly. I think, and when we set that up, the goal was to get like a third content creator. And props to Dan again. He's let me pick the last two. So I said, like, you reach out for the next one. But it's just a case of, like, we'll reach out to someone that we either have in mind already, or someone who's maybe internally reached to us as well and said, hey, like, what's going on? Because that's what happened with Danfinity.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I did.
Here.
Yeah.
He messaged me saying, to me, this is like gold dust when Dan messaged me and says, are you off next Tuesday? Yes. Are you on for reset next Tuesday? Yes. Are you streaming next Tuesday? Yes. Right, we're doing it then.
Yeah.
The stars aligned.
It was my pleasure. I was like, man, so I want to do GM Conqueror on Tuesday. I just want to get it knocked out so I know what I'm getting into for helps. And then like reached out to Pidge because I knew Pidge and you, Dan, both like it is a tradition. It's something that I look forward to. And so like to be a part of that, thank you guys for allowing me to take part and run with you all.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like it because like Pidge was saying, as a content creator, as we all are, we all have our own schedules. We all have our own communities.
Yeah.
And even though we all try to game together, we all have our own schedules. We all have our own priorities to our community first. I do like it because I get to spend a couple hours with some folks that I first admire, some folks that I've always wanted to play with that I might not have the chance to play with. And I do like that a lot because I brought in people that Pidge might not have played with, and he's brought in people that I've not had a chance to play with. And it's a really cool experience. It's a really cool time. And because of scheduling, because of our own work and our own priorities, I don't get that a lot. And it's easy to reach out to someone and say, hey, let's game together. And then 3-4 months go by.
Yeah,
and we
nothing
still
happens.
Haven't gamed, nothing. We've all experienced that.
And
so
been guilty of it.
Cool. Yeah, no, I have as well.
Yeah.
I get the message, let's play the game. I'm like, yeah, sure. And then 3 months go by and I'm like, I just, it's just, at least with this so far, in the last couple of seasons, it's been really nice because it's always been, hey, I get to play with this person. I haven't had a chance to play with this person yet. This should be a fun time. And of course, we all want to, as content creators, get the Conquer in a Day thing done. It's good for content, and it's good just to at least have people in the directory connect together. So I've enjoyed that part of it a lot because it's something I don't get to do a lot myself. So So I like that a lot. So props to Pitch for first starting that off for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've always been about. Yeah, like collaboration and sharing experiences is the kind of aim. So something like Guild and Conqueror in a Day is an actual, for me, it's a content format. It's something I can actually have on stream and be like, this is what we're doing today, and we're going to do it, and it's going to be good. It's going to be an experience.
And your chat likes it as well because you like, oh, I've never seen Pitch play with this person or this group. This should be fun content to watch as well.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Let the magic happen. Let the personalities clash.
Yeah.
Or coalesce like into the sweet honey that was yesterday. Was like, yeah, it was like yeah. That was like Dan. That was our first time playing together. Like,
yeah,
even though we've talked together on this show for the PvE panel, back in season 18, and then Pidge, we've been friends for ages. So it's just always blessed. And thank you guys once again.
It's nice to be in the fire team with people on my friends list after such a long time sometimes, you know?
Oh man. Well, I guess we should start getting into it. So this season we have the Mars Heist Battlegrounds. We have the Hypernet. We had the revisions of Lake of Shadows and the freaking
Arms Dealer.
Arms Dealer. That's it. That's the one that I'm drawing a blank on. Thank you. We had Glassway. And there's one other one. Yes. No?
Proving Grounds.
So, first and foremost, what did you guys prepare going into GMs yesterday? Did you guys have loadouts that you'd already like kind of locked in and set? Or
I had like two. I literally had... But the last couple of seasons, I had ran Titan and Hunter for these GMs, and I was like, I haven't done a Warlock for GMs in a long time. I'm gonna just do a Warlock. I made a Strand one. Like his new Strand was gonna be good somehow, and then I was like, let me just make a Well. I'm gonna be running Well anyway, and I just made a Phoenix Protocol one. Only because I haven't ran one Well in a GM in a very long time, and I hadn't ran Phoenix Protocol. So for me, I was going old school. You know, I want to run Phoenix Protocol. Why not? And I was like, Strand will be good for if there's unstoppables everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, at least I got that. At least I can suspend stuff. And then Well will be good for giving me Radiant, giving us Radiant, and then at all times having, you know, anti-barrier, for example, or something, just in case you didn't want to run what's that thing, Arbalest or something, you know. And that's all I had really was just I had corrective measure for like Bricks Beyond, Volatile, and anti-barrier there, and then I just ran Izzy because of the oversurge thing for like you're getting like what 25% more damage when you're running the subclass that's on the thing. So I knew it would be Strand because it's like the highlighted one, and I was like, I'll just, if it's hopefully it's solar because I'm running Well, then I can still take the extra damage from Izzy, and then I just had my energy weapon be whatever was needed for like that strike. But since Match Game wasn't there, I wasn't as worried. So I had like a couple pulse and a couple strikes, a couple of scouts, and that was it. That's all I planned. Just in case like anything happened.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned the Well Radiance for anti-barrier, because when I come out with like what I was using, also if you wanted to say something, Dan, because I've got my tangent here.
Oh no, go ahead, man.
Literally, I went in yesterday with the mindset of I really want to take advantage of the new champion system, being able to deal with them via certain abilities or weapon perks rather than just conforming to the artifact mods. It was definitely quite challenging though. Like, so I had like ignition build with I was on my hunter, so I like thought I would do my hunter most of the day, although I would swap classes if needed based on the needs of the team. Um, but one of the ones I've been using recently was the young Ahamkara's Spine on my hunter, and you can actually build up ignitions really quickly, which deal with unstoppable champions. As well as that, it had Radiant built in with the throne knives, which was for anti-barrier. So I actually was giving myself like anti-barrier sniper at some points. I was using Iznagi's Burden, similar to what Dan was saying there. Ended up, I did have to roll back to Old Faithful on a few of the strikes.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you want to do a strike by strike basis, but I found myself going back to like Omni Oculus on my hunter. I've always got that build ready. I actually had a lot of success with Strand in one of the Nightfalls on my hunter. Suspend is really strong. Like it can pretty much deal with most champions in the game. Obviously, it staggers unstoppables, but you can actually use it to crowd control barriers and overloads as needed, giving you that breathing room to like take them down. What else did I use? Weapon wise, yeah, I had the classics. I had like the Achilles SMG for overloads. I had Iznagi's Burden. I used Galahorn quite a few times yesterday as well. I think there was quite a few Solar Surge strikes actually, which I found myself using. And when I could, I would rock some Void weapons for Bricks from Beyond, Volatile Rounds and whatnot. Those were all top picks. Oh, special shout out to the Lingering Dread grenade launcher with disorienting grenades and chill clip on it, because that's kind of a really powerful utility weapon that you can like disorient adds with, but you can also stun overloads with it, and then if you're good with it, you can deal with the unstops as well. So it's just like a Swiss Army knife weapon that goes through a few things yesterday as well.
Yeah, I remember seeing you post a clip of Lake of Shadows, of our run in Lake of Shadows. Yeah, that clutch, man. Like, I felt
good.
Yeah. That was great. When going into yesterday, I figured I would run a Warlock because, like you, Dan, I hadn't run. I think I've run on Titan the past couple of seasons, and I wanted to experiment with like some of the void possibilities of it. But after like some of our early attempts at the Mars heist, I ended up not taking off stasis, the osmiomancy gloves, and that seemed to really I just ran that for the rest of the day because it was so good at helping to take care of ads. And I think that a lot of people this season particularly are sleeping on stasis.
Stasis is in a weird state because Strand, I feel like I talk about it a lot. Strand does a lot of what Stasis does, except better. However, like Stasis is still incredibly strong. Like I feel the only thing that makes Strand better for what it does, which is Stasis and Strand are really good in in-game content for oppressing and suppressing the enemies, where it stops them from damaging you, stops them from being a threat. And I think what people like about Strand more is that, at least, of course, it's the new hotness. Of course, everyone's using it, and it allows you to play more aggressive, more free. You know, things are more suspended if you're running around flipping, putting your rally barricades down, tossing shackles, all that kind of stuff. Versus outside of certain builds, you know, stasis just freeze and slows, and then it's just kind of it until you can get your stuff back. I think the other reason that people are sleeping on it is it's not really working with the new, what is it, mod 3.0 system? Or build crafting 3.0 system. I think that's the biggest reason why people are sleeping on it, because it's not interacting the way Strand is. Like you break all these crystals, you don't make any orbs, or you don't get like, I think, what is the thing that people used to use, elemental shards or whatever?
Yeah.
Shards or elemental wells.
Yeah, or like all the stuff that you used to work really, really well with stasis no longer there. They're gonna probably fix that as they always do. I can see them fixing that, but yeah, people are I agree. People are sleeping on stasis because even though it's not the newness anymore, especially what you were running, Osteomancy, people can't hurt you if they are frozen.
Exactly.
You know?
And it seemed like everything was frozen. Like
Always.
all the time.
Yeah. All the time.
Wait, something you said there, Dan. They'll fix it soon. There was that blog post talking about that we're getting a new version of Elemental Wells, which is you become
Like one of the
you can
two
get-
mods that's coming next season, right?
Yeah, but as well as that, it was involved the subclasses. Yeah, so like for stasis, it was picking up multiple stasis shards, would
Yeah.
eventually charge it arm, like give you an armor charge. I think the strand one said if you destroy a tangle, you get armor charge.
Yeah. That was
which
something.
To me sounds really strong.
Yeah.
I do think Tango needs some help, so whatever help they can give Tango, the better.
Yeah, they need more utility for sure.
Yeah, that 15-second cooldown on Tango is rough because if someone wants to build into Tango, you can't really build into Tango because of that 15-second cooldown. So whatever help they can give it, the better, because sooner or later, because it's going to happen outside of the artifact probably affecting it, you're going to see a monopoly on Strand being suspend and only suspend. And then everyone's going to hate it. So the better they can give the unravel, sever, tangle stuff for people that want to just make something off meta, quote unquote, the better. Because if they don't, then suspend is going to probably get touched as well, which I don't want. So,
Right.
We would need more strand weapons as well to work with those perks. Like unraveling rounds, I'm pretty sure I have that active on my artifact, but I barely get use out of it at the moment because there's not really many strand weapons. And the ones that are already on the artifact, like the SMGs or well, that was kind of the main one, to be honest.
Yeah. I just don't want them to touch it
sidearms.
until they give more things outside of suspend help before just really touching it is all.
Agreed.
But like you said, like suspends was Pidge was running suspend in some of these GMs and was absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
I was running
you.
suspend strand and was like, and that I think the synergy, if anyone is listening and they're struggling with Mars Battleground, they need to run the builds that Dan, Pidge, and I ran. Because we pretty much had everything either frozen or perma suspend. Now that being said, we did learn that suspend and stasis don't work well together. But
Yeah.
That's a huge SG.
I had a lot of people complain in my chat. I don't know about y'all about how much they were struggling with Mars Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be elitist about it, but we just had really good synergy on our classes and did not have a single issue.
Yeah. We didn't have to do cheese for that final room, which is
cheese.
something
Just
that popped up.
one Omni Hunter with like Pidge was running for a debuff and just for, in case we get in a pinch. And then a Strand Warlock and a Strand and a Stasis Osteomancy Warlock. And I felt that was a very, very easy GM with that build.
Yeah.
Someone actually asked me like any tips for the Mars heist, and that my response was literally crowd control. The Darkness subclasses are 100% about crowd control over either aggression or survivability. They're just kind of that whole different category of you can control it, because again, I got a chance to speak about this today, but a lot of GMs and strikes in general, and for those that some people, I'll assume some people might not know this, but a lot of the encounter flows are based on like killing key enemies or key triggers that spawn the next waves and whatnot. But I found with the Mars heist, it originally really wasn't intended to be a strike, and its sort of encounter design is wave after wave of adds, and there's you do one trigger and that's what you get. So in the case of the heist, it's you activate a plate or
the
a
towers.
location, and then the towers. That's right. You start the towers and then you're straight into like a constant flow of adds until you've captured the point. which I think a lot of people aren't used to in a GM format, self included.
Was that changed from needing to stand on the plate to because we figured out yesterday that you didn't need to stand on the plate in order to progress it because it was wave based. Was that always the case?
My chat said it's always been that way since Mars Battlegrounds came out.
Okay.
That's what they told me, and they were like, "How did you not know this?" And I was like, "It doesn't matter on anything not GM, but everything else in the game, Exodus, Crash, that's public event on Nessus, anything else that requires you to stand on in a area, even PvP that makes you stand in an area and capture a zone, only progresses if you're inside of it. So it's odd that."
You don't have to.
We've been
You don't
trained
have to here. Yeah, you've been mentally trained. Oh, I got to stand in this thing. Let me stand in it. So, of course, it doesn't matter in the Legend playlist. Doesn't matter because you can just stand in it. Sure, it might hurt a little bit, but not to the amount of a GM.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's fair. I don't know if fair is the appropriate word to expect us all of a sudden to just no, you don't have to stand on this plate when for 8,000 years we've been taught you see a zone, you capture it by standing in it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with the Mandala effect?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what this is. I'm questioning myself. I'm like, doesn't those towers have those sort of white circles, like the UI style, HUD style circles around them for us to say, hey, you need to stand here? Now I'm like searching my memory. I would probably have to go back and watch my VOD or something.
Well,
And I'm gonna have to question all of them now. Like, do I gotta stand on this or not? Whenever they add new stuff.
well, it's a near Pavlovian response. Like you see a white circle on the ground or some zone, you're going to go stand in it now.
And then when you stand in it, you see the number go up.
Yeah, exactly.
So you assume, okay, let me just stand in it.
Exactly.
So I don't know.
It keeps pushing that up, and you get some sort of weird gratification from defending the zone. But if you don't have to defend the zone, then that makes that
Like
strike
Trick said,
so
once
much
we
easier.
found that out, yeah, you just activate then leave.
Yeah.
It makes that opening and capturing all three plays. Someone asked me or suggested, which maybe next time if one of y'all do that GM before I do, what happens if one person goes to each?
Oh.
And just breaks it, then just leaves.
Yeah.
Would you be able to capture all three of them?
That'd be the mother of all ad clears.
Yeah. But since you don't have to stand in any of the zones, just kill, you could have just fall back, have a designated area, and just have a final stand, just have all three of y'all just kill everything. Now, I don't know if I don't do that GM a lot. That the one plate, what is it, B, that has the Death Singer. I think you have to at least kill him since he stops the plate.
Right.
But after that, I guess in theory, you could just kill whatever and just let the things cap themselves.
Yeah.
It would stop your abilities as well, so you probably don't want to keep that Death Singer alive.
Yeah, so just kill him, then just kill everything else like normal. Would be interesting if that ends up being the strategy. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's something definitely worth testing. And like, I feel like that one out of all of them rewarded you playing way further back than trying to be more aggressive.
You have so much room on that too.
Yeah. In most of the rooms, I think the final two rooms were really like what got to us. Like the room where we had to get the orbs in order to break the seals.
Yeah.
That room was kind of rough just because the ads coming in from behind us. And then once we got the door open and we got the anti-barrier and the unstop.
Pidge learned very quickly.
Yeah. I got the fright of my life.
Yeah.
I like screamed the place down. Yeah, no, wait.
I hope you got a really good clip of that because that had to be very good from your point of view. Because I had a really good view of that door opening. And
well,
those two guys just showing up.
I was going to say that was something else that we learned, right? So there's when you reach that part of the strike, there's a countdown that starts saying like,
it's like 2 minutes, like 3 minutes.
This is 60 seconds and then back up or whatever is that coming.
Yeah, it says there's reinforcements on the way, right?
Yeah.
And considering we did this activity last season,
Mm-hmm.
I never came across the fail state of it, which because we were pretty much
Never
we're
have,
getting those
yeah.
cores and then shooting the hive sort of glyphs or forget what you call them off the door. And yeah, so we actually learned the reason the barrier and unstoppable spawn at the same time is because we timed out the reinforcements timer, which the door opens when you go to the final boss fight, but you have to then deal with an anti-barrier and an unstoppable. As well as that, you don't get access to the heavy ammo crate
Right.
that gets given to you before the boss fight. So keep that in mind when you're running that GM.
But did that
if you
really
can get-
matter?
Is that confirmed though that like the chest is supposed to spawn otherwise?
I feel like it is.
Because
Okay,
we never got
I'm
to,
going on.
we never opened up the door.
Yeah, we hit
Right.
failure state each time we made it to the boss room. That's okay. So I tell you what, that's what I'm assuming. Don't quote me on
I
it.
believe
then.
it. No, I believe it.
But I think that is what happens. You have to fight 2 extra champions, and you don't get the ammo crate before the final boss.
That is a really
you're too
interesting
slow.
mechanic if that's true.
Yeah. Again,
That's kinda cool.
I dare say we just haven't came across it yet because we've never hit the failure state for
Right.
that section. That's it.
It was like that one was like so that room was fairly hectic. Even if you were up on the podium where I went to grab that first we're gonna call it a nut. In order to grab the first nut to break the seals. If that door opened and that unstop was right there, he was beaming me the entire time relentlessly.
Yeah.
So there was
Wait,
no
please,
safe
please.
space up there. And then the final boss room, we ended up kiting the boss around that little strip, but after the entrance hallway.
Right when you enter. I think that's gonna probably be where you see most people keep him.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if Pidge ever had this or you did, Dan. When we kited him and kept him on that little line, he never did anything. I don't know if he bugged out. He never hit his hammer down. He maybe did it once or twice,
Yeah.
but he would just follow us. We'd run around and we'd jump over him. He'd turn around, just follow us that entire time.
He would occasionally go off path into the like servers a little bit. But yeah, and I only ever had him, well, I had him smash me twice, but I think that's because I started too late on my jump over.
Yeah.
And so that seemed like a valuable strat. And the big thing, like you were pointing out yesterday, was keep making sure that the wizards were down the entire time. We had to keep them held down in order to progress.
Yeah.
With Pidge, you going invis all the time, grabbing those orbs. That was perfect.
Because Pidge running
that-
that was like, I just gave them all to him. I'm not going up there. Just
Yeah.
take this, go invis and dunk these.
We'll try to take
Do
care
I
of
know
the
what caught
ads.
me off? Do I know what caught me off a few times?
What?
I don't know if you remember, but Dan was on strand.
Oh, the tangles, yeah.
I ended up picking up a few tangles to take over.
Yeah,
yeah,
'cause
yeah.
every time the guy would spawn, he would be suspended, and then I would kill him. Like, all right, Pitch, here you go. And then he'd be like, oh, I got the tangle instead. I'm like, oh, my bad.
And it takes like a
That's
second
exactly
for
what
those orbs for those
Yep.
charges to spawn too.
But because of the timing of what Pidge and I were doing, every single time I killed him, a tangle spawned right by the orb. So I
Yeah.
had to make sure I picked up the tangle before he got it, or I would get the orb and then bring it to him so he wouldn't take the tangle.
That's happening more just Nightfalls for me. When a relic's involved, like if there's a tangle there at the foot of the relic, you're screwed. Like you're gonna have to make a choice. You're gonna have to grab one or the other and deal with it, whatever happens. But yeah, that was just a wee funny that I noticed when we were doing that. I was like, oh, I've got a tangle. That's no use.
Yeah.
No use to me at least. But yeah, the invis plays for that room are huge. It actually kind of takes me back to like original D1, not even original D1. What am I saying? Early D2.
Yeah.
Running that room.
Yeah.
I seem to have memories of just constantly moving through the sort of server room with the pillars.
Mm-hmm.
They do kind of offer cover, but as you mentioned, the wizards definitely they seem to always get line of sight on you to beam you with their little arcade hands.
They
And
also
you
shoot
can't
like
have that.
100 a second, which is
Yeah.
even
Oh yeah, they're
worse.
unhinged. They are so
Yeah.
unhinged. But
But
once
that's
we
the
got
only
that
reason why
rhythm
I was
down,
like, kick
it
those
was
guys down. Yeah.
Yeah, it was plain sailing. A word on the boss, by the way. Just, I guess this is like a lore thing, but that boss Kelgraf, we've memed on him in the past. Like we've like killed him like multiple times now, in terms of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So that it was a bit of a pushover in that sense. But see now, not so much a pushover at that Grandmaster level.
I don't know, man.
Definitely.
If you could just trick him by going, no, I'm over here, then I don't know how that works.
Again, I don't know if we just had a broken version of him, but if that's how he always is, I highly suggest every team just kite him there while you don't even have to have an invis hunter, just have one person designated to just dunking them. Yeah. Because the only stuff that spawns up there by the server for wizards, and as long as your group takes down the wizards, which in my opinion is the most important thing in the server room.
Yeah.
If you can cover those guys, get them all down, you're smooth sailing as long as you got one or two people like just keeping the boss away from the person that's needing to deposit the server like nodes.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. I was going to say, I had one more funny. I had a glaive on our main run that we got to clear.
Yeah.
And I tanked a slam from the boss with the glaive. And then I went to do it again and he shut me down. So I'm really unsure if I'm able to do it or not. Like the whole glaive shield. Maybe it timed out. But if you're feeling risky, then I'm always a big fan of like using the glaive to tank aggro when you can, with the shield charged.
So,
but that's high risk, high rewards.
Knowing the metrics for the listeners to this show, if there's anybody from Bungie listening right now, don't do anything with glaives, please. leave them the way that they are.
Please, no.
Yeah, please. Pidge, what are you doing? My boys.
I still think they're a sleeper. Oh, yeah, actually, yeah. That I think we're just going to get tanked all the time.
Yeah.
No, never mind.
Nice save.
Yeah. Good job. Moving on. Proving Grounds and Glassway didn't really change all that much. Our team makeup still like outshined anything that was in there. We kind of had like a few fits and starts like at the entrance of Proving Grounds, but I think that's mainly because the changes that they made. Yeah.
I put that to me. A part of that was I was trying to do the whole, like I said earlier, using certain things from a subclass, but it was quite hard to chain in that strike for sure. Mm-hmm. So I swapped to like the top picks for it.
After that, we did the Hypernet Current, which is the newest strike to arrive in Nightfall. How did you guys feel about that strike as a GM? Outside of me being stuck in the floor at the boss.
Floridan.
Yeah, Floridan. How did you guys feel?
I'd already run the master, so I was feeling quite comfortable / confident going in it because I kind of knew what I was going against, albeit some extra champions and whatnot. But I kind of had the flow down for the fight, for the strike. Sorry. It can seem daunting because it's all new. It's like, oh, it's brand new, but you just kind of apply that methodology. Like, there's a champion, we'll team that, we'll deal with that. Prioritize your targets. The boss room did have me worried because it can get very hairy very quickly, as it did when we ran it. I do think the blight attacks really suck as well. They're kind of inconsistent. They always have been. I was kind of worried for those. The Sparrow section was probably the other thing that had me worried at first, but when you actually put it in practice, it's not too bad as long as you're confident moving on a Sparrow.
Yeah.
And you remember that you've got darkness zone thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Paige. My apologies on that one.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Those that were in there, Dan Finity forgot he didn't have his glide, so he tried to hop between a gap.
Look,
I'm calling you out, man.
Look.
He went to hop a gap, no glide, and he was gone.
And I could have made it to like the level below and been fine, but like that's not my style. You know this.
I know.
But yeah, I felt like the Sparrow portion was actually probably the safest outside of my fumblings there.
100%.
Yeah, there was no champions or anything there. Just like smooth sailing. You take out like a group of taken thrall, and every once in a while, and you're fine. The blight emitters, I guess, is the best way to describe them. The blood cells in the sky that were shooting at the blights. Those pose the most threat throughout the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was just like that's the blight attack from the boss is what got me into the floor, which masterfully done. You guys knocking that out just with like patience and like callouts and everything. But other than that, I didn't feel like it was that terrible, especially when they give you Vex skulls.
Exactly. The skulls were actually huge, weren't they? They do so much damage. It's free damage for you especially if you're low on ammo. We tried to juggle them, didn't we? We were trying to like gather them up to use for each phase, especially for like damage and whatnot. Ended up being a bit fickle though, because we were down Dan at the end.
Mm-hmm. Well, also like it was good to figure out that their interaction is very much the same as the skulls in Grasp, where you guys were trying to farm them into like a corner. And they would disappear after like, I think in Grasp it's like 14 seconds. I wonder if it's the same for that.
It was about the same, about 10 to 15 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, as soon as you pick them up, the timer starts on their decay, and then once it's gone, it's gone. But if you let it lie, I wonder if it like dropped them from that upper ring that shows up and disappears.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure they dropped down.
Okay.
But I didn't want to test it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're wasting DPS at that point.
So I feel very odd about this strike, because this is the one I was the most excited about, honestly. Only because I felt this was going... I didn't think Mars Battleground was going to be the most difficult GM. I felt this one was going to be the most difficult GM. Because, like you said, the Blights, and because of the Final Room, and because of the Sparrow section. What I ended up learning was... the craniums have like 80 charges, and each single charge does like 4,000 or 5,000 damage, which is a lot of damage for a massive cranium. I don't know, the mathematicians out there can do the numbers on that. So if you didn't have the craniums, or if the craniums were not as plentiful, or if the craniums despawned no matter what after you dropped them, or the craniums had there's something else in the game that has it. I think it tangles. When you pick it up, the charge slowly disintegrates no matter what, whether you use it or not. I feel the craniums, which is such an elitist take, and I will accept it in this. The craniums make it a little bit too easy, because I was able to basically never use my weapons if I wanted to. And it took out all the ads with a lot of ammo left over, and it did a lot of damage to the boss. So if you didn't have any ammo, I could have saved my heavy and my special if we had all three of us up and we had used all the craniums on the boss. I also don't know, which I need to do more testing. I almost feel if you pick it up and you have your if I had my Izanagi's already equipped, it would take advantage of the weapon surge buff that I was using. I don't know if that's true, but sometimes it felt like I was doing more damage than intended with it. But it's also because I ran around with my weapon surge equipped when I picked it up. And then sometimes I would notice it wouldn't do as much damage. But I don't know if so folks want to test it. Even though I say that I enjoy this GM a lot, but it feels like one of the easier ones we've had.
Yeah.
Mainly because I expected the boss to move around more or be more of a threat.
Yeah, the boss kind of picks a spot and that's it.
And just
they're
stays
there for
there.
that phase.
Yeah.
I remember calling it out one time because I was in a panic, but the boss, the only thing the boss could really do that could take it is overcome you is it can hit you with the blight attacks that it fires.
Yes.
And while it's doing that, it's spitting out sort of solar splash attacks. So if you end up in a corner somewhere trying to hide from it, that blight could tag you and then it could splash you on the corner, which is what almost
Oh,
happened to me at one point.
it goes through the thing too, which is how I learned when Pigeon was like, "Don't stand there," and I was like, "I'm fine, I'm behind this thing." Nope, it went through it and still hit me. So it was like, "Oh, I didn't know it goes through objects as well. I thought it was going to absorb it." But
I'll be real, like at Daniel during that strike was the leadership was insane, kept me sane. We were a man down effectively, and we got it done, no problem. It was GG's after we'd kind of controlled everything for that strike.
yeah, the strat I think most people should do is the one we did, which is you grab the craniums, you use them to destroy all the stuff except for one, since shooting all of them triggers the bosses, triggering the boss to do what it does and move. As long as you kill everything with either the craniums or your weapons and then leave one blight up, whatever one you're comfortable not getting hit by, you can spend all the time you want freely saving up for supers if you want. You know, maybe farming heavy because there are waves that respawn if you don't kill some of the blights. And I don't know if this is going to be one of the ones people end up farming. If there is doubles, but if on this list of the ones we've had, I would say this is one of the few I would farm.
Yeah.
Easily.
I was just going to throw in an honorable mention, and I don't think any of us had this on yesterday, but Fighting Lion apparently does work in that strike.
Really?
There's a lot of red bars, yeah.
It's Grenade Launcher Surge, and I think it's a Void Surge as well. Don't quote me on that again. I can't remember. But Fighting Lion apparently does a lot of good work for that strike.
Isn't Fighting Lion still bugged as well to do like way too much damage to red bars?
No, I think that's part of the reason as well. Get it where you can, gamers.
Yeah. So then we have the remakes left to cover. So like which I guess which of the two do you guys enjoy more? Let's talk about that one. Is it Arms Dealer?
I'm gonna have it. You go first, Dan.
I'm curious what y'all say.
Okay, before I say mine, it's kind of after yesterday's experience of it, but that was very subjective and might not always happen for everybody, but it gave me a buzz, so Lake of Shadows for me.
See, I was going to say Lake as well. I enjoy Lake more. Yeah.
I didn't think it was that bad. Everybody's been
didn't think it was that bad
crapping
either.
on it this entire season, saying that it's the worst of the two remakes. I actually think it's a little bit better than Arms Dealer.
I agree. And that's also saying I'm pretty sure I was the only person who hadn't done the strike at all.
Yeah,
and a couple of our wipes are my fault because I went in the rooms not knowing what to expect.
that tormentor room.
Oh my gosh, the
tormentor room.
But I gotta agree with Pitch. I like Lake more than Arms Dealer.
I'm kind of doing this in reverse order in my head, but the boss room was intense.
Yeah,
but it was exciting kind of intense. And
it wasn't overwhelming intense.
It wasn't frustrating. Like for those that haven't ran it yet, the what actually happens is there's a bunch of blights and whatnot.
Yeah,
the blighted grounds that you can't really walk on, and round the outskirts of the arena is the darkness cruxes, which you have to shoot out to give yourself ground to stand on. I mean, I guess I was on my hunter as well, which made it easier for me to maneuver around. But I found it really fun just hopping around, maintaining floor space to take stuff down. And it wasn't ad dense. It spawned enough ads in to be a threat if you weren't careful. Again, shout out to disorienting grenades, which I was using that whole strike. But it was the boss fight that sold it for me in the end. I think people are kind of crapping all over it because of the push the payload sections.
Yeah.
And I actually think those are, even though you're pushing a payload along, I think there's plenty of stuff you take care of along the way that keeps you active in the strike. It's not like you're just pushing a payload and you're standing on it waiting for it to trundle along. You're actually running back and forth to it to deal with like targets and then jump in and out. I also think they took away the frustrating parts, like the triple unstopped champions on the sort of dam section.
The 3 blights too.
The blights as well, yeah. You don't have to pass through the blights anymore and deal with that rubbish. For me, the triple champions and then the knights that spewed all the fire on you, they're kind of, I think they're gone pretty much.
They're gone.
Yeah, Those were my least favorite parts of that strike.
I think the ones in the end are still fire blights, but because Pitch had blinding, I don't think it mattered.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. Whenever they showed up for me, I just broke their shields and I like weakened them real quick and finished them. So they never did the fire stuff to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, again, the frustrating things. At the end, we used to have an unstop and overload constantly hide in and out of cover towards the end of that sort of bridge platform section, or the dam. I call it the dam. I'm not sure if it actually is.
Yeah,
That
it's a dam.
section. We used to have like the overload and unstop just congregate together, and you had to play it a certain way to get through to them. Now you don't actually have that. You do have some high priority targets there, but it's not the same as before, so it's kind of easier to navigate around and deal with.
Yeah. So having talked about this strike before running it, really, and before like really experiencing the difficulty that the GM brought to it, also kind of taking into consideration some of the critique of last week's challenge for Master Ron.
Oh yeah.
I feel like much of the critique is around movement and not being able to go as quickly as you want to through historically what has been like a faster strike. And tie that into like the Master Ron thing. Like people weren't, you like shatter skating, not really a thing in that challenge. You are kind of subjected to the physics of the launchers, but my team, when we attempted it, we did 2 attempts to knock out the challenge, and then we were done. And the only reason why it was 2 attempts instead of 1 was because of ad clear. The launchers didn't really do anything with us because we're not a team that runs movement tech. Like
it's like you've made a problem out of it before you've actually done it yet, because you know what you like, and then when you go back and look at what actually causes the problems, you realize it's not really that. It's not related to this or that.
Mm-hmm.
I think me standing on a payload in the GM yesterday, I wasn't really standing on the payload. I was back and forth. I had to deal with. I had to be careful and play my life and run
it
around.
just moves anyway. You don't really have to stand by it. You just have to. It goes, stops,
you stand by it to go faster, man.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, but
Overwatch moment. Or at least that's what I'm led to believe.
I was so worried about all the stuff. I don't know. Like I said, I hadn't done the GM. I hadn't done the strike at all.
mm-hmm.
I was expecting it to be the worst thing ever, based off of what everyone had said.
Community critique.
Basically, like I had been to other people's streams while they were doing the strike, and I casually watched, and they were like, "This is terrible. This is god awful." And then everyone would be like, "I can't." This strike is the worst. And I'm like, okay, well, let me be prepared for this strike on a GM. And like we all said, I went out of it was like, that's it. Now, granted, the escort and the payload, no one's a fan of, but I kind of felt like the payload was just kind of there, and you were just killing waves of enemies while you're moving and progressing it forward. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah.
But like I think we've also, I guess, kind of agreed on, they made a lot of changes that I actually like. They took out a lot of they took out the overloads, which were a big problem. They took out a lot of sections that like were areas that could like team wipe you in no time. And I like the boss room more. You know, like sure, like I guess he has 1 health bar, so technically you could still bake him. Yeah. If you have a team that like, or a strat comes up, I don't know, maybe it's rockets or maybe it's all it needs is the appropriate surge. But I enjoy it way more now as a strike, and I think they did a better job with Lake of Shadows than they did Arm Stealer, in my opinion.
Yeah. The 2 things that like, so the meatball section still, I mean, that's still dangerous, but it allows you to move around the arena
move
more.
As much as I thought, though.
Yeah.
Like I was expecting, I heard there was a meatball, but I expected him to be shooting those 3 things. Constantly. I expected him to be like how he used to be in the
GMs.
No.
Or not,
What's that thing? Gambit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where he was a pretty decent threat even at that. I expected it to be that on a next level. I expected him to always be immune. Like, you do a little bit of damage, he would go immune as would show up. That's what I was expecting in the GM version. But there's not a lot of health gates there, and there's not a lot of health gated enemy spawn triggers. It's just he shows up, kill him.
Yeah, the whole fight's actually a lot of fun in that section, therefore.
Yeah.
As long as you take care of the three little things, the little orbs and the occasional void wizard, it's not bad. I don't know. Like,
I like how we're saying this with trepidation. Like we know this is going to be released this week.
It's weird because I was expecting to go out of it being like, man, that was y'all, wiping the sweat off my forehead.
Yeah.
That was rough. But like, I walked out of it being like, that's not bad.
Yeah. I think the tormentor in that little room, that's the only thing that I can think of that was mildly annoying, just because of how claustrophobic that room can be when compared to the rest of the strike, which is much more open.
Now, if he was an imprint,
that would be
he was a normal tormentor, was it not?
If he was a imprint instead of one we could just suspend and blind and freeze, I'd have a different conversation, maybe. Like the one in Hypernet. But
Do you know what I actually think the worst thing for that room, and that's what killed us in our first run, was the Acolyte's eyes.
Acolyte eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They still hurt,
I've become kind of meticulous with like what priority targets are, and even today I was doing like it's separate content, but I was doing like master raids, and the most of the time the priority targets are the wee small dudes that are there to distract you from the big dudes. Because if you start tunnel visioning the big dudes and the little dudes are plinking away at you unchallenged, then that's what causes a wipe more often than the big dude getting you.
And
because they're just the one thing.
That harkens back to the Mars Battlegrounds. The boss wasn't the threat. The wizards were the threat.
So it just comes down to knowing what you need to prioritize. Like you would think having a list of prioritization be boss, majors, ultras, red bars, when generally it's the red bars or the mid-value stuff that will wipe your team before you realize it.
Yeah.
Snipers in line of sight or proximity is kind of what I look at.
Yeah.
So I just remember getting into that room. Well, just for people to know,
getting into that room.
We had an issue. We probably would have been okay. I don't know, but for those
we
that
would have been
there,
fine had I took your lead on that. Yeah.
Epic Dan was like a few ticks ahead of us and made us join allies. And by the time we joined the allies, it was already chaos in the room. Nothing was under control. And the Acolyte eyes beamed us down and the Tormentor got us. I thought it was hilarious.
I got incredibly spooked because the door closed behind him. I turned around. Y'all were standing there. The door closed behind me. I turned back around. He shows up. And then I see on the ceiling 8 Acolytes show up. And I was like, I am not prepared for this. It
was a true haunted house experience.
Going to run through. I was used to like this little thrall being in that room and then you go to the next room. No.
Do you know what? See, because that was such an organic experience for you, your first time playing that as a Nightfall and on Grandmaster. In fact, at all. Like, you won't forget that now. You will be like, there's a Tormentor that next room, and we're going to make sure we're ready for it.
Yeah.
Like that.
Everybody slowly walk into the room together.
Yeah, that helps you spot that stuff.
Yeah.
I love that.
To kind of wrap up here, the last one was the Arms Dealer, which is the one that I enjoyed. Pidge and I played it for the first time just in the regular Strike playlist. Or I played it for the first time with Pidge in the regular Strike playlist before we even hopped in together. And like I enjoyed how they changed it. I thought that it was a nice change. Thematically, I liked the change of the path that they chose to do. But yeah, overall, I feel like that was of the two between Lake of Shadows and Arms Dealer. I felt like that was the weaker of the GM experiences because the original Final Room felt more like a threat. Personally,
yeah, you had. It seems like there's the way the fight goes. There's a lot more cover and the boss gets locked down quicker.
A lot more NPC help too.
Yeah, you got the
NPC help
NPCs.
does make a big difference. Yeah.
They split up the aggro.
They also
all I'm
do
gonna say
really good
is
damage to all the like regular guys.
Rank and file.
Yeah.
they. I thought they were a bit of a meme because like they're all right. Actually, I'm just gonna say it right. But the amount of times that I targeted the NPC allies
Right.
over
Yep.
enemies, like again, this is a PSA Bungie. If you can make, I know they've got their tags above them, they've got different like armor and stuff, but I still think they're just too samey compared to enemy units. So I
Agreed.
found myself like engaging with him, and well, it was actually a good guy, good cabal, friendly cabal. That
They
was
wear
just
blue.
one thing. That was my only gripe, I guess.
They wear blue.
Even though they're blue, like Paige is saying, in a pinch, like when you're like in the fray of just fighting in that room,
Oh yeah.
You're gonna start shooting
you
the first
see
cabal
you
you
see
see.
a non-guardian, you're trying to attack it.
Exactly.
Right.
So it does need to be something that is like, I don't know if they need to have a aura around them or like something,
They just need to show up on your radar as like a
Yeah.
friendly.
but there needs to be something. Like I myself wasted a couple Izzy shots on them thinking I was shooting a cabal that was, rushing in. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, that's an ally, So like I 100% agree that I don't know what they can do. We appreciate the help. That does make
Oh,
that
yeah.
GM a lot easier.
Thanks, Bungie.
Like I watched them surround an unstoppable and kill him without stunning him, just like stomping him over and over. So that's cool, but I don't want to waste them on them.
yeah.
Agreed. That was my only gripe, and to be honest, this was the first strike that I did, like the first GM I did with Strand on, as per the Guardian rank requirements, which is to do a Grandmaster with, or it might even just be a normal Nightfall, I can't remember.
It was
I'll say it's
Grandmaster. Yeah.
So yeah, do a Grandmaster with a Darkness subclass, and Strand on my Hunter felt amazing for this. I think every other second I was shouting out like Woven Mail moment because
Oh yeah.
I'd woven mail procced whilst I was
Almost the
getting
entire
absolutely
time.
yeah, I was getting beamed by a lot of the vehicle units, the Threshers, the Landers and stuff. They were quite rough. But my other favourite thing was you have to transport those solar orbs to dunk, to release prisoners, or to progress the boss fight. And I found that I was able to grab it and then grapple across the room to dunk it like almost instantly without any kind of hassle.
Except for that barrier champ in the
Except
Thresher
for that barrier
room.
champ. Oh,
Yeah.
that was at the start. I remember sort of near the start. I had bad angles, but like we swatted a little bit and we tidied it up. It went better. We kind of mapped and laned and stuff. That was my thoughts. I was like, I really enjoyed using Strand for that and it being useful, because normally I probably would have ran like Invis, or I'm pretty sure it's like a solar singe that strike. So rocking maybe Blade Barrage combination or something. But I got to go away from that for a strike, which was cool. But I actually think one of my top picks for the day has got to be Wish Ender, by the way, in terms of exotics.
I saw you, Dan, were you using that yesterday as well?
No.
No.
Wish
So it
Ender's
was
nuts, man.
just Pigeon. It was just Pidge.
If we were to give like an award to something for exotic of the day, that was my exotic for the day. it was great for my loadouts.
I'm curious if anyone else feels this way. Because I felt this way about the GMs. I do like the mixture of the 6 GMs that we had. As far as different ways to approach each GM, even the ones that we had done a dozen times now. But I also like how, I don't want to say free, how much variety each of the classes have that they can actually take into a GM. Pidge was able to run Solar and do a really good job with it. He was able to run Strand. He was able to run Void instead of you do GMs all 6 and you got to run Omni Hunter.
Right.
We were able to run Strand, Warlocks, Solar Warlocks, Stasis Warlocks. And maybe next season they'll amp up Arc and we can bring that in. But even if they don't, I do like how all the classes have way more diversity in what you can bring to a GM. So it's not so samey all the time. I
Yeah.
did enjoy that a lot instead of in past seasons, and just with Pigeon Eye in general, but just in GMs in general. There's been a static solar choice, hunter choice, titan choice, warlock choice, and a very static team composition that will be required
Or
for
weapons.
a GM, or
Like-
weapons as well.
I think
You already
Having
knew
the
what you're
freedom
going
is
in
so
with.
nice. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more, dude. That was my original goal for the day, and I feel like I pretty much did that. I went in and used the abilities to get deal with champions. I used different builds that I'd had saved for a while now, rather than it just being like you said, the one glove fits all choices that have always worked. I got to divert from that. Maybe compromising the actual effectiveness of us getting it done, but
Yeah.
at least I knew to myself that, hey, I'm actually trying this out, and
No, I think on any
It's
other
gonna be more
GM,
fun.
your solo one would have been really good.
yeah.
well, that was my favorite of the day. Like I said, Lake of
Yeah.
Shadows. I had my young Aham Kara spine on. I was tossing grenades left,
Exactly,
right, and center. That even became useful for the boss because I could DPS the boss because
Yep.
we had no heavy, we had no ammo between us somehow. It was
Somehow.
rough. We'd spent it all, or
That is
well,
probably one issue. Like you would think with finders and scouts now. And I think all of us were running an exotic. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure exotics are supposed to help with heavy. I was running Bricks from Beyond, and I was supposed to help with heavy. You know, I don't know
Yeah,
what the whole system was from heavy, but we had too many strikes where the three of us were like, I got nothing.
yeah.
Yeah.
You had to resort to primary plinking.
Yeah,
a lot
just
of
the
time.
plinking. Yep.
So
I guess you want to have to still bring Aeons, but I don't think there's not as many champions in these GMs anymore, with the exception of Battlegrounds.
I think that's like that was kind of like the common like note among people, right? Is that they didn't like champions as a sole difficulty modifier. And like
I don't
Yeah.
either, no. But like, what I mean is, if you're going to remove the amount of champions, there needs to be a little bit of a more consistent system for getting heavy. Is
well,
all.
so my question is, did we have fewer champions or did we have more ways of taking them down?
You know what?
There's
got a
definitely
point.
some sort of algorithmic equation that says less champions, more big, heavy yellow bars, but
Yeah.
also more ways to do champions, so less ammo, or there might even have been ammo modifiers like famine active.
Yeah.
Like I tend to brush over those, which is maybe a bad habit. I don't know. But somewhere out there definitely needs to be some sort of baseline. Like, okay, I should have got some ammo by now.
Yeah.
from whatever.
We win multiple rooms without heavy, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But it just, if that is true, which I didn't think about, but that might be true, it would suck if our ability uptime and our strand stasis, whatever uptime that like allows us to more consistently deal with champions, causes us to have a net negative on getting heavy more consistently. Which will,
Yeah, I can
if
see
that
that
does
happening.
happen, it's going to force somebody to fall back on Aeons.
Yeah.
Which I mean, maybe they want that. Maybe that keeps Aeons relevant. But I don't know. They're like Pitch said, there should be at the very least a baseline for. It's been 10 minutes. Here's
Yeah.
at least a single brick of heavy. You know.
Oh, hey, this red bar just dropped you 2 bricks of heavy and an exotic.
Yeah.
Like, where's that been all this time?
Yeah. Well,
Because
guys,
like the Mars GM would have been way faster if any of us had heavy instead of
absolutely.
blinking away at them.
Yeah.
I hope that
I was
they
just going to throw
address
out my personal favorite. My personal favorite is when you've had no heavy the whole fight and you beat the final boss and the final
And he
boss
drops
drops
heavy.
heavy. Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being on today. Thanks for
Yeah.
allowing me to come with you yesterday and completely obliterate Conqueror in a day. Also, congratulations on Exemplar, both of you.
Exemplar.
Yeah.
Paragon next.
Exemplar. What was it? Paragon, whatever the max is.
Paragon is
Just-
the max. So
Yeah.
we'll get there soon. But why
I'm
don't
very close.
why don't we have you guys tell people where they can find you on the internet, starting with you, Epic Dan?
You could find me pretty much everywhere as just Epic Dan 22. That's on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Twitter. I talk a lot about Destiny, but I also talk a lot about sports and food. So if you like any of those things, you might like me.
Heck yeah. Pidge, what about you?
You guys can find me pretty much all the usual: Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, I guess Discord to an extent. And it's now I don't know how to say this phonetically, so you need to follow me at Pigeon, which is PIJINN. There might be an underscore out there. You'll know who I am when you see the P with the bird shape in it. I talk loads about Destiny. I'm quite passionate, so you might not always agree with what I'm saying, but just let me have let me have it out. And definitely come try and check out a stream if you can. It's always a good laugh.
Heck yeah. I have a feeling that some people are going to be having some comments about our Lake of Shadows comments. So,
Let me hear 'em.
Yeah. Come at us. My name's Danfinity. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and the TikTok at Danfinity, where the eyes are L's. You can also find me on Twitch 3 days a week, helping Guardians through in-game activities in Destiny 2. If you want to join a helpful community in Destiny 2, please consider joining the Discord, discord.gg/Danfinity. If you want to support the show, please remember to rate and review on your podcast platform of choice. And if you want to send $3 a month to help keep the lights on over here, head on over to coffee.com/Danfinity. That is ko-fi.com/Danfinity. All the links are in the notes for the show. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you find what you're grinding for.